Why people don't heal from anxiety is they just can't let love in.
God bless you. I hope God protects you and everything that you're building and fighting for and fighting with. I hope you win the battles you don't speak about.
Go Chiefs.
I had a
We
lot
as
of
athletes of the world have an obligation to shed light in the what we might call the shadows of the American dream and the shadows of humanity.
welcome first-time listeners and returners to the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table. And the Sports Deli podcast is sponsored by my YouTube shop. Yes, there is a YouTube shop, and all you got to do is go to youtube.com/@Mike and you will see thousands of items in there to choose from. It's unbelievable, yo. What about fucking Colin? Why does he not have a fucking job? Because he's still being whiteballed. Why is Tom not speaking out about that? He should be his biggest fucking ally. And he hasn't said one fucking thing. A lot of people that have come on this show, I don't know why, they've gotten some good fucking jobs afterwards. Jim Rome in the jungle. It's right here in the Sports Deli, baby. We got some good ass karma right here. Let's fucking go.
I love it.
Man.
I love it.
We hope you enjoy today's show, everyone. All right, let's rock and roll. So today's podcast is brought to you by my Amazon shop. Check it out at amazon.com/shop/the Sports Deli. And you can see all the products that I've done videos on, my idea list, and my shoppable photos. Enjoy today's show. Do we have to refer to him as Mr. Duncan? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, please, I'm very formal, Secretary Duncan.
There you go. Exactly.
Just put a sir on the end of it. Mr. Duncan, sir.
Well,
Or yes,
because,
sir.
Jay Billis always said that he could never call Coach K Mike, even after all these years, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Mike's a different level. I'm not. So it's all good.
All right, here we go.
Look at that shirt. What? Wait, but hold on one second. That's an inside-out white shirt. You're living a life.
Well, I had to grab a white shirt and just do the, old iron on with the parchment.
Funny. Very nice, though. I appreciate it.
We're so honored on this 29th day of Breast Cancer Awareness Month to welcome the pride of Mahopac, New York, population 8,932. And in case you were wondering, Mahopac is 47 miles north of New York City. Jeff Pearlman, a New York Times best-selling author of several books on the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball, but his first non-sports related book may garner the most interest, one of roughly only 40 ever written about the complexities that both tormented and freed Tupac to become a gifted poet, activist, writer, rapper, and actor. Only God Can Judge Me, The Many Lives of Tupac Shakur, has already sold out on Amazon and been restocked in just 8 days, and saw a 45,000% increase in Google searches for the city of Lumberton, North Carolina, the site of Tupac's grave, maybe. Jeff has gotten a lot of pushback because how dare he have the audacity as a white middle-aged sports writer write a book about Tupac, but we will discuss the duality of this today. He began his professional career as a food and fashion writer before being hired by Sports Illustrated, and today you will hear the rest of the story. He was born the same year as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Shaq, and interestingly, the notorious B.I.G., as well as Eminem. He has 30,000 followers on Instagram. You can find him at Jeff_Pearlman. That's Pearlman with an A. Jeff, again, we're not Dan Le Batard, Rich Eisen, all the smoke, but sincerely humbled that you wanted to come on and talk to us today. I really appreciate it.
I mean, I thought it was Rich Eisen's show. I actually thought you were
I
Rich
sort of
Eisen.
look like him.
So it's a little awkward. I'm like, wait, what show is this I'm on? Is this not Eisen? So then I saw the Lions banner and I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely.
That's right.
Yeah.
100%.
Come on, man. Flattered to be asked, honest to God.
I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
So how many copies of the book did you have made the first time around? And then how fast can they print more?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. It's to be honest, and people are like, oh, don't talk about it that way. It's frustrating because your first week is your big week, right? That's your big week, your first week. And Amazon ran out of books, which you would think, oh, that's great. Well, then they didn't replenish them. So basically you have 7 days and you want to sell as many books off the bat because that's your best week and your most PR. So 4 out of my 7 days, you could not buy the book from Amazon. Now they're back again.
Right.
You just want to kind of scream. On the one hand, you're like, oh, this is great. They sold out. On the other hand, oh, so the #1 bookseller in America doesn't actually have my book available. And then you're depending on people to go to barnesandnoble.com or Target or go to the local bookstore. And it's like, it's an ask, you know? So, yeah.
Right. So I want to back up if we can. You and I are both Jewish, and you pretty much went to schools that were PWIs. Now, up until fifth grade, I went to a day school,
Mhm.
and I went to a public school, and then in high school, it was majority African American.
Mhm.
And that's when I fell in love with the culture, the music, Run DMC, everybody that was back then.
Yep.
And so, what was it like? Were you aware? Because this is just after the civil rights era. Like, we're not talking about 50 years after. We're talking about, late 70s, early 80s. This is
Mhm.
less than 20 years removed, and JFK, MLK, Malcolm X. So, what are your memories of growing up as a kid in that era?
Well, I grew up in a very, very white rural town. In fact, oftentimes I mistakenly call it upstate because when I was starting my career in Nashville, I got in this habit of describing it as upstate because it's people viewed anything north of New York City as upstate. But I was only an hour north of New York City. It's not upstate, in fact, it's downstate, but it's north of New York City. I grew up with an almost entirely white group of friends, white, Italian, Irish town. Um, but when I was in high school, my best friend was one of the two black kids in my grade, John Powell, literally one of two. And Powell, I grew up in a town where it was, White Snake, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, Aerosmith. We're all good. I'm not taking it away from them, but very little hip hop at this point. And I'm like the movie cliche. I'm like Footloose, but for hip hop. Like it's like I become friends with one of the two black kids. He becomes my closest friend. He's listening to a lot of Public Enemy. I hear Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos. I hear 911 is a joke and Fight the Power. And a lot of Big Daddy Kane, a lot of Heavy D and the boys who were from not, Mount Vernon, which wasn't that far away, and just really discovered it. And I did have a moment that always still makes me laugh. It's actually true. Is senior year we had a dance at the school in the cafeteria. I brought a copy of my cassette. It's a Big Daddy thing by Big Daddy Kane, and I wanted the DJ to play "I Get the Job Done." And he did. He would. He said he would, and I just knew everyone was going to love it. And they lasted. The dance floor cleared after about 30 seconds. Like nobody. And I've said this. It reminds me of the Michael J. Fox moment in Back to the Future, where he's playing guitar like Eddie Van Halen, but it's 1950, whatever. And he says, you don't get it, but your kids are going to love it. And I feel like that was my moment. I'm sure if you go to Mail Pack right now, even though it's still a very white town, they are listening to Drake and J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z and all, et cetera, et cetera. So that was it. I mean, I went to a school where I had a teacher in eighth grade, I think it was, history teacher named Mr. McGee, who told us that blacks can't ski or swim, like literally. I grew up in a town where my best friend, John Powell, had multiple cross burnings in his front yard. I grew up in a town where the N word was used all the time. And I am relieved at this point in my life to say I never used it. I knew it was wrong from the beginning. I was the kid of Jewish parents and liberal Jewish parents who both grew up in New York City. So that was my background. And thanks to Jonathan Powell, and that, there's an irony. He introduced me to Tony, Tony, Tony and Feels Good. And for years and years and years, I know the rap from Feels Good. Mercedes and Mello, quite a nice fellow, met 3T, had a rhyme a cappella. Until I started working on this book, I always thought he was saying most ladies the mellow, quite a nice fellow. But he's saying Mercedes, and Mercedes is Mopreme, who's actually Tupac Shakur's stepbrother, which I only learned from Money B interviewing him for this book.
Wow,
Mhm.
that is fascinating. So I want to talk about that a little bit because this is the part that I've been coming back to time and time again, and I did finish the book. Phenomenal read for those of you out there that want to listen on Audacity or whatever audio platform you like to listen to or read the actual physical book.
Mhm.
It just got better and better as the book went on. A lot of people know basic history, and this is where there's these dualities or dichotomies that we have a lot in common, at least initially, with the black and brown community when it comes to the Holocaust and civil rights.
Mhm.
And like I said, in high school, I didn't see a lot of the things that maybe you saw. But I'm interested to know what your thoughts are and what you've learned throughout the writing of this book about the historical component because there has been a study done on the trauma gene with the Jewish people.
Mm.
And I would venture to go out on a limb and say that that is also true for the black and brown community, seeing that it's over 400 years and all the way through Jim Crow, civil rights, etc. But specifically to this book, my question is, knowing that we were fighting for similar things initially after World War II, do you find that because of the music industry and how a lot of Jewish people were at the top of the music industry and exploited a lot of these rappers for so long, that that came into play when it came to learning about a lot of the nuances to how you wanted to frame the book and Tupac and the industry?
Interesting. I would say yes slash no. I think I haven't talked about this very much. I think there are a lot of when I look back at the white kids who were into hip hop early, maybe it's just my I think a lot of them were Jewish kids, right? I think there's a lot of Jewish kids, right, who felt this sort of like even if it wasn't 100% like I think there are a lot of Jews who look at the black struggle and feel like there's a we to it, right? We know what you're going through. And I think there are a lot of black Americans who look at Jews and say, who's we? Like you're able to blend in. So like it's not we, even though, at least you're acknowledging it, who's we? And I do think like I remember back in the day a lot. Like my first crush as a kid, my biggest crush in the world was Whitney Houston. I loved Whitney Houston. I would sit at home, listen to her first album, stare at the album cover. I was like 13 years old and just I loved Whitney Houston. I remember going to school and telling people like, "Oh, Whitney Houston," and then at the very least saying like, well, "I guess she's good looking for a black girl," and at the worst assigning the N word but with the W in front of it to describe me, right? And people like us. And I do think when it comes to working on a book like this, like I grew up, my grandma, who I was very close to, came here. Her mom was killed in Auschwitz. You're always aware of that. You carry that with you. You hear the stories. You know your heritage. You know what you escaped. You know you're only here because your family was one of the lucky ones that were able to get out. I do think you carry that with you. I do, and I think when you read about Phoenix Shakur and the Black Panthers, just as an example, and what they were going through, instead of being the cliched white person who's like, oh, they just hated white people and oh, they blah, 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 blah. You're like, no, you have to understand what they were fighting for and where they came from and what they were facing and what the background of this is. So I'd say, in regards to being Jewish, the biggest thing for me is I think it provides a dose of empathy and understanding, even if when you explain that to some people who are black, they might be like, well, you can't possibly understand. And you have to say, I'm not saying I do understand. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying there is a history of persecution that I think informs the way I approach things.
Yeah, and that's sort of the point that I wanted to make. I love that because when you have gotten the kind of pushback that you've gotten from death threats to comments, and you've been very open about this, that we, in my opinion, have to continue to acknowledge the trauma, the continued fight in multiple layers, but also get your point across that maybe I framed it wrong, or this is what I wanted to try and get across. And you're not going to reach everyone, but that doesn't mean that we're not supposed to continue to be as empathetic and understanding and have integrity when it comes to getting that message out there.
I agree, but I think what's happened, to be honest, is we've really hit a snag in the way we communicate, which is everything is now digested, not just in 20-second sound bites, but 20-second gotcha sound bites. And you could be a person, it doesn't matter who you are, black, white, Asian, blah, blah, blah. And you are trying to understand something else publicly in a public forum, maybe you're on a radio show or TV show, a YouTube channel, whatever. And you are not like I actually think a great example are trans rights issues in America. There are people my mom's age who are trying very hard to understand, for example, pronouns. There are people my age, fuck, there's me, when it first was kind of being introduced, really trying to understand pronouns and the use of pronouns and the placement of pronouns. Genuinely trying to get it right and understand what is proper, how do people want to be addressed, how can I best respect people. And you have moments in trying to understand where maybe you use the wrong pronoun or you screw up, and you're not trying to screw up, you're trying to understand. And that if you like, I was on a podcast once, this is not a great example. And I actually made a joke about, this is like 4 years ago now. I made some joke about being pregnant. It had nothing to do with anything trans. It was like, blah, blah, blah. What's going on with your wife? I don't know what it was. Something, oh, well, I'm pregnant. And I was like, haha, obviously I can't be pregnant. And someone blistered me on their podcast saying, how can you be so transphobic? And I was like, I don't even know what you mean. Like, what are you talking about? And I feel like nowadays we're in the gotcha business 100% of the time. The woman at the ballpark who takes the baseball from the kid, we got her. The guy who cuts in line at the restaurant, we got him. And if you say anything wrong, if you are even trying to make a genuine effort to understand someone's culture, someone's language, someone's anything, it's increasingly difficult because we have very little patience for it and an eagerness to expose people. So I think it's much harder than it used to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is. But that was one of the points I was trying to make. You're boxed into a corner. So on the one hand, like when I read a book like Just Mercy, and you're trying to understand marginalized communities and the two different legal systems in America that clearly still exist. And you're trying to, as an ally, call it whatever you want, be more understanding, more empathetic, and understand nuances, and you slip up. So they go in on you for that, but you're making every attempt to not just gloss over it, but to truly, and this is not most people. Most people are what you described. Gotcha, take a clip, troll, but that doesn't mean, like I said earlier, that we can't keep going being authentically ourselves and trying to educate people, because I'm sure you educate way more people than I have. But I've gotten a lot of emails that say, I don't agree with you. I know you're more left center, but I appreciate your approach and how you're trying to at least present the facts about this situation. So,
Yeah.
what's your experience been about that kind of thing? Because this is the reality that I've learned throughout my life, that typically on hot topics, white people listen to white people, and black people will typically listen to black people, even if the same message is being conveyed.
It's been fairly okay. I mean, I think over the years, I mean, this is
You
weird,
notice a difference between, like, when you were at Sports Illustrated, obviously there's no social media, versus now in terms of what people are willing to share, and just the umbrella of everything.
I think I kind of just I mean, I just think generally social media has become a poison in the effort to communicate. It's weird. It's actually counterintuitive, right? You would think social media would make us amazing communicators. I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's led to a ton of accusations and a ton of mismanagement of thought and time. So, on the one hand, you can reach many people, but on the one hand, the hate you get back from things you try to explain to people is makes you not want to do it. It makes you gun shy, very gun shy. So, I mean, the biggest thing is like I mean, this is like I learned so much about Tupac in this book. I learned so much about the Black Panthers. I learned so much about his mom. But we live in this age where it's like there's one part where like Tupac kissed a friend of his in high school as just kind of a goof off, right? How can you say Tupac was bisexual? Tupac was all man. Who the fuck are you to say Tupac was a so and so? What the fuck? I literally devoted 40 pages of this stupid book to the Black Panthers. How could you say Tupac was a so and so? It's like I don't really know how to manage modern social media in a way that can accomplish what maybe you're accomplishing. Like I honest to God, I'm exasperated more than anything. I feel like back in the day when I was at SI, at least people would sit down and read the 3,000 words of my profile of Gary Sheffield. Now they're just digesting 20-second clips of Gary Sheffield. I don't know how to manage it. So for me, it's worse. It's not better, to be honest with you.
No, I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to let it breathe for a second, because I don't think there's a simple solution. I just think you have to be authentically yourself, and you're going to get people that push back no matter what. It doesn't matter what you do.
It
So,
sucks though, man. It sucks. Like I loved writing this book as hard as it was. Like I really gained a lot out of it. I loved writing this book. And I knew it was going to be hard to promote, not because I'm a white guy, even though it's part of it, not because I'm a sports writer that's part of it, just how complicated a subject he is for uncomplicated and unserious times. Like he's a serious subject at serious times. I'm not saying I'm anything, but I'm just saying the subject itself is a serious subject with a lot of nuance and a lot of detail and a lot of like like to me, it's interesting that he was kind of this like butterfly of a kid in high school, right? And he was like this kid who like had a gay friend and he had this friend and he had that friend and he showed up with nail polish and he had a peroxide strip. Like all that stuff was really cool and fun and like made him something unique. But we don't live in times to talk about that. We don't live in times to be like, he was this way, but then this way, and this was his adjustment. It's all just singular moments. And I'm just, again, books aren't made for singular moments. They're made for evolution and an understanding, but that runs very 180 to the times we live in.
Is there anything you omitted from the book that?
Of course, lots of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, there's stuff I didn't use that I, in a way, you run out of space, and like I had a lot of stories from videos that I left out. There were people I interviewed who I end up not using, most of it on purpose, but sometimes you're like, oh man, I forgot. How could I forget that? Or how could I forget that? Or I had a weird moment where he one of his biggest songs is I Get Around. And I was at Tupac's Walk of Fame ceremony a couple years ago in LA where they gave him a star on the Walk of Fame. And there was a woman I was interviewing, and she was the woman who played his girlfriend in the video, the girl, main love interest, short-haired woman. She told me all about the experience. She had a picture of her then and a picture of her now, and this long interview. And I'm like, oh, this is so great. And it turns out she's an imposter. She actually wasn't in the video. She's just going around telling people she was the, and she has literally a Facebook page. I am the girl from the I Get Around video. Stuff is crazy. Like I was like, how is this even a thing? And I thought there's somewhere fun in this book to use that, but I didn't use it. There are a million little moments,
Wow.
stuff I just didn't get to use. I wish I did. Yeah.
So obviously, the way people perceive things, there's not really much you can do except to demystify what really is true. And if they choose to come back and see that, that's one thing. But um, the things about Tupac that were really uncomfortable to listen to for me and read for some people. And when they already have this view of people they don't normally talk to, people they don't normally associate with, or they can't really relate to, let alone understand nuance, how do you relay that message to white people that may be on the fringe of being interested in learning more about not only Tupac, but Black culture and how it relates to the bigger picture, maybe politically?
I mean, I try to write a really good book that gets good reviews and people say, oh, this is really interesting. And this is bigger than just a book about a rapper. It's not just about a rapper. There's a whole time period that you're writing about and a whole experience you're writing about. But it's not, it's pretty hard, actually. I mean, it's pretty hard. Like, it's just pretty hard. The thing that I have going for me is there are a ton of Tupac fans in the world, black, white, across the board, and that carries some weight. If you just have Tupac fans reading the book, to me, the bigger challenge, to be honest with you, is getting people who don't know who you are and view you suspiciously to give you a chance, give the book a chance when people aren't even reading books as much as they used to. So I think that's a much bigger challenge than getting white people to read a Tupac book, is just getting people who love Tupac and feel like they know everything about Tupac and feel like the only reason someone would be writing about Tupac is to shit all over Tupac. To me, that's a much bigger challenge and has been a bigger hurdle in a way. Like my mom wasn't going to read a Tupac. The only reason my mom read a Tupac book is because I wrote it. There's no universe where I could have got my mom, where my mom is going to go to the bookstore and buy a Tupac Shakur book. This is not possible. It'd be like me buying a book about knitting. I'm not buying a book about knitting. I don't care about knitting. If you don't care about a subject, you don't care about a subject. It's hard to get people to say, oh, I'll read the Tupac book. I will say that said, my mother-in-law, who's in her 80s, she's having her book club do the Tupac book. So I feel good about that.
That's amazing.
Yep.
But a lot of people do know about Black Panthers.
Sure.
Maybe some don't. And I don't think a lot of people know the story of Tupac's mom.
Nope.
You want to briefly tell everyone about that court
Yeah.
scene and how that all came about?
Yeah. I mean, Alice Faye Williams, born in Lumberton, North Carolina, moved to New York when she was kind of a young kid because her mom got a job in New York working in a lampshade factory. And she moves up with her sister Glow. And she struggles with school and whatever, different things, and finds the Black fight for independence and joins the Black Panthers in New York. She sees a couple of speeches, gets inspired by the leaders, joins the Black Panthers. There's a thing called the Panther 21 trial, where 21 members of the Black Panthers went on trial in New York City for plotting to blow up different monuments and landmarks. Phoenix Shakur at the time is 21 years old, without a high school diploma, pregnant with Tupac, being shuttled from jail to the courtroom, from jail to the courtroom, turns down a court-appointed attorney to represent herself, facing a lifetime in prison. People are thinking she's crazy to turn down the attorney. She turned down the attorney because it was a soft-spoken woman, and she just didn't feel like white woman. She felt like, I don't need this person representing me. And she won. And she won with a blistering intellect and just a wisdom beyond her years. And she's just, to me, there's a movie or at least a 6-part Netflix series to be done about the Panther 21, focusing around Afeni Shakur and her being pregnant. And also, like, in the prison, in the jail, she's being malnourished. She's not getting what she's required to receive, like 1 glass of milk and 1 egg a day, and they're not giving it to her. She's just a remarkable, remarkable woman. And I think one of the things about Tupac that's fascinating is when your hero, your absolute hero, unambiguous hero, also becomes life's greatest disappointment to you. And she becomes a crack addict, and she's a crack fiend, and she lets you down a million different ways. So I do think it's very fascinating, the highs and lows of that situation.
From my perspective, I think you did a great job of balancing the monumental decision that came about from that trial and all the moments that you had him have to navigate while, she was addicted to crack. And that was tough. That part was tough to read. What was the toughest part for you to write in the book?
I mean, I would say from a moral, ethical, journalistic, knowing the blowback that was coming, it was when I found the sexual assault allegation against him by the woman in Los Angeles in an incident that allegedly occurred 4 months before the Parker Meridian incident in New York City that led him to prison time. When I first saw it, I didn't really know what to make of it. I first saw a redacted version of it, then I saw an unredacted version of it. Then I found the woman and reached out to the woman and interviewed the woman. People are like, I've got a lot of, you just do this to sell books. People always say that's the old cliche. You're just doing this to sell books. There's nothing in writing that would bring me anything but negativity, right? Nothing about it that would bring me anything but negativity. I knew that from the moment I found it. But I just really am a believer in journalism. I am. And if someone goes to prison for sexual battery and 4 months earlier is accused of a very similar situation, and you find out the reason the police didn't pursue it, as I wrote down, is because the woman had a chance to run away and didn't take it. Like, that was her reasoning for not pursuing it. And then you interview the woman who has literally nothing to gain from talking to you. I mean, nothing to gain from talking to you, who at the time was dating a member of the USC football team. So wasn't out there just trying to have sex with a bunch of men. Literally, her boyfriend was home. She was going to her boyfriend's house. So you really think you're going to have sex with multiple men before going to see her boyfriend? Doesn't make sense. And I don't even in the book accuse him of doing it. I just think it's important. How can you tell that story? How can you find out a somewhat similar incident happened 4 months earlier and you're writing about this? How do you not use it? Like, I don't know how you don't use it, especially when you pursue it, not just throwing it out there flippantly. Call the woman, ask a detective about it, dig into it. But I knew what would come with that, and I was correct. So,
And the way that the book was leading up to this, Tupac was, in your eyes, and is someone who loved women, even though he loved to have a lot of sex and did lots of, marijuana and, things of that nature. So it's sort of confusing, as you stated, that this might be a possibility because of how much he loved and supported women, I guess. I don't know how you would say it.
I mean, it's really interesting because a lot of people who have had problems with it say, you'll hear like, well, Tupac would have never done that. He loved women, or Tupac would have never done that. He could get any woman he wanted. And like, again, I just want to be clear. And if you read that, you did read the book. Like, I do not say Tupac raped someone. It's not my accusation. I don't say it's true. I just present that he was accused of rape by a very credible source 4 months before it happened. And again, journalistically, I don't know how you ignore that.
And if you are going to read the book, it is a trigger warning, just full transparency, like Jodie Foster's movie. in that scene, or The Sopranos. Those are the two that came to mind when I was reading. I was like, oh my god. I mean, I'm listening to it. It's not even a movie,
Yeah.
and her running back to her boyfriend after that happened and screaming hysterically. You know, being a girl dad or just a human being. That was a tough read.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a tough write. I just don't, it's kind of exhausting when people are like, he could get any woman he wanted, blah, 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 or like, blah, blah. Like, it's just not, again, I'm not saying he did or didn't. It's not a legitimate defense of someone. How many times have we heard this about every single murderer who's ever murdered? He would never do this. He's not, he loved puppies. He loved kids. He loved his dad. He would have never killed his dad. His dad was his best friend. Same with sexual assault accusations. He would not do this. He was married. He was a dad. He was so and so. Like, people are complicated. People are complex. People are multifaceted. I have a friend who has said to me multiple times, he's like, you have the best marriage of anyone I know. And I always say to him, I do have a great marriage. But I always say to him, you don't know that. Like, you don't know that. You don't know what goes on behind my bedroom door. Like, you don't, for all you know, we're fighting every day. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what people are going through in life. In a way, that's one of the guiding principles of writing biographies. It's like, you can't assume you know what a person's life was without really digging into it and researching. And again, for the sixth time, I'm not saying Tupac raped someone, but just because, quote unquote, you could have sex with any woman you want, that is not a oh, he couldn't have done it. It's just not. It doesn't work that way.
Was there a most surprising interview that you didn't expect them to share what they shared with you?
I mean, I would say the EMT who told me Tupac shot himself in the testicles was a pretty big one. I didn't see that coming. The Brenda's Got a Baby story, I didn't see that coming. Didn't know that was coming. Um, yeah, man. I mean, across the board, finding his grave, like being with a cousin and his cousin saying, you want to see where Tupac is buried? Oh, on an abandoned lot in Lumberton, North Carolina. That was a little surprising. There were a lot of along the way. I had a crazy moment. My wife and I were on vacation in Idlewild, California. This didn't make the book. We were in Idlewild, California. It's a mountain town, tiny little mountain town. And someone is selling his records on the side of the road out of his car. And he has like a bunch of boxes. And I go up to him because my son is really into collecting records these days. And I'm like, he sees me looking and he says, what are you looking for? And I said, jokingly, kind of like, yeah, hey, Tupac. He goes, nah. He goes, but I used to be in a group with Tupac. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I was a founding member of Digital Underground on the side of the road in Idlewild. So that was crazy. So like a lot of moments like that. I had another one. There's a producer, Easy Mo B, who worked with Tupac. Easy Mo B, West Coast guy, etc. Where was he living? Where was he living when I found him? Mahopac, New York.
Oh my God.
I literally grew up in his high school with two black kids in Mahopac, New York. The third black man to live in Mahopac, New York is Easy Mo B, Tupac's producer.
That's
A lot of
crazy.
crazy little crossovers. And I'm not really a higher power. This is this and this is that guy. But there were a lot of cool moments, you know. So
How long do you take a break for before you write your next book?
it's break is over.
It?
My next book nobody's gonna read, but it's a memoir of my early journalism career. It's just something I wanted to write, and I got a deal for it. So yeah, I've already started. I take a break. Like now I'm on like the promotional part of this book.
Sure.
Kind of heading toward the end of that already, where you promote it and you push it and you work hard and all that stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, we can get to the rapid fire. Is that cool? We can. I don't know if you want to tell the Brenda story. You've told it 9 million times. I can just direct people to your social media, and it's there if you guys
whatever you
want.
want, it's your show.
Yeah, if you want to tell the quick version of this unbelievable story, go right ahead. People would love to hear it, I'm sure.
So people probably know the song Brenda's Got a Baby. Most people, some people. And Tupac was filming Juice in 1991. He was a voracious reader. He gets a New York Daily News delivered to his trailer. There's a story in this day's Daily News, Cries in the Night. It's about a 12-year-old girl in Brooklyn who was raped by a cousin, delivered the baby without anyone knowing she was pregnant on the bathroom floor by herself, wrapped the baby up in a plastic bag, threw the baby down the trash heap. Tupac reads this article, goes back to his trailer, inspired by it, writes, Brenda's got a baby. Brenda's got a baby, but Brenda's barely got a brain. A damn shame. The girl can hardly spell her name. I'm fascinated by this song. I work with an amazing genealogist from the mean streets of Mahopac, New York, named Michelle Sully. Said, do you think we could find this kid, the baby? She's like, I don't know. It sounds kind of hard, but let's try it. Gets me a phone number. I reach out. It's the baby. We meet in Las Vegas. Basically, he had been adopted after that happened. His family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. His parents had died. His adoptive parents had died somewhat recently. He does a genealogy search. Brooklyn, 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 Brooklyn. All comes back to Brooklyn. He reaches out to a bunch of relatives. They're still living in the Noble Drew Ali Public Housing Unit. He goes and visits, has this great, awesome Antoine Fisher-esque reunion. They're like, do you like Tupac? He's like, yeah, I like Tupac. Do you like the song Brenda's Got a Baby? I love that song. We think that's you. What? Listen to words again, talk about the article, the whole thing. So I meet with him and he hasn't seen his mom. And I said to Michelle, do you think we can find the mom? That's going to be tough. She tracks down a number because she's a wizard of all-time wizards. And she reaches out to this woman and says, by any chance, is this Jeanette? Who is this? Well, my name's Michelle. I'm working with this author, Jeff Pearlman, on a book about Tupac. By any chance, did you have a baby when you were 12? She starts screaming, do you know where my baby is? Do you know where my baby is? Oh my God, I've been looking for my baby for decades. She's crying and screaming. She's like, yeah, I know where he is. We're in contact with him. She goes, oh my God, I need to get home to my home in New Jersey. I need to get back to Newark. And Michelle says, well, where are you now? And she says, I'm at a concert. I'm at a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert. Where's the concert? It's in Las Vegas. And that's where Davon lives. And that night, Davon Hodge and his mother met for the first time in forever.
And you have a relationship with him.
Correct. He's become a good friend. He's a great guy. Great guy. Great guy.
So, and you went on a recent podcast and
All the smoke. We did all the smoke.
Right. So for those of you that want to watch that interview, go check out All the Smoke. It was a great interview.
Thanks, man.
And I'll leave the stage for you at the end. We'll do a few rapid fire questions here. Okay. So where are we with freedom of speech and the press in your eyes? Because I know there's a lot of things that you have opinions about when it comes to a lot of things.
I'm horrified. What I'm horrified more than freedom of press is the marginalization of press. And it's been a slow rollout that's hit a asteroid speed, or not asteroid speed, like rapid fire speed, where money in media has marginalized the media. It's all just for profit. And you have a White House now that's rewarding pro-Trump outlets with prime White House space, press briefing space. Meanwhile, you're punishing the few entities that are trying to at least practice good journalism, like the New York Times, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not about free press so much as it's about this corporatization of press. I mean, you see Barry Weiss now, head of CBS News, completely unqualified. This is where we are. It sucks, man. It sucks. And the sad thing is, I stand out. I have a ton of TikTok and followers now. And one of the reasons I stand out is because I say whatever I feel. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I don't work for ESPN or The Ringer or The Athletic, and I can just spew. Most people don't have that ability. It's not allowed anymore. It sucks.
How much do you blame the left? Because I've said conceptually, you can sort of wrap your head around concepts, but the execution is where the problem lies.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you who I blame is I blame CNN, and I'll tell you why. How old are you?
56.
All right, so I'm 53. So about you and I grew up with Peter Jennings, Dan Rather, Tom Brokaw, a little before my time, but Walter Cronkite, like that kind of thing. You turn on the news, trusted source. CNN comes along, right? What does CNN do? We need 24-hour news. We need 24-hour news. It's going to be amazing. Sounds like a good idea. 24-hour news network. It's 3 a.m. I can't sleep. I turn it on. There's Bernard Shaw telling me in the news. All right, you know what? There's not enough news to fill 24 hours. What can we do? Well, let's have some opinion shows. Let's get some opinion shows. Start doing opinion shows. Opinion shows start getting the ratings that the news are not getting because I'm coming to see blank. I'm coming to see Chris Matthews. I'm coming to see Sean Hannity. I'm coming to see Rachel Maddow. Well, then they're like, wow, these opinion shows are drawing more people than the news is. So let's actually merge the opinion news shows. So that births the Fox News phenomenon, the MSNBC phenomenon, and the mess that CNN became. Then you see it on even network TV, more and more opinion, more because it's going to draw people. You see it in sports TV, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, opinion. Then all of a sudden, what are you left with? People seeking out the opinions that reinforce them, their own opinions. And now what we have are people living this vacuum where I never watch Fox News. I don't want to hear the shit Fox News has to say. Maybe I should actually, but I don't want to hear it because I don't agree with anything they say. So I'm going to go and have my little IV to the exact information I already know to be true. None of that is healthy. And that's where we sit right now. And that really fucked up media as a whole, is just the launch of 24-hour news as this idea that wasn't sustainable and the birth of opinion news.
One word when you hear these. Donald Trump.
Fraud, con man, piece of
Grifter.
shit. I can't. I always say, like,
Would you buy his watch, his shoes, his buy?
you know what I'm amazed by? Honest to God, I've seen very convincing. Like, I get why people found like Dr. Phil, just as an example.
Right.
I get it. Like, I actually get it. He has this down home, folksy thing going. Dr. Oz, I get it as a medical professor. He says I should take 200 milligrams of nitresium acid every day. Oh, yeah, I'll do it because he's a doctor. I don't get it with Trump. Like, I actually don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I
Because
see him as
they
a
think he's a
grifter.
gangster and
He's
a
a grifter more than anything. He's just a grifter. And he reminds me of when I was a kid growing up in my little town in New York. We used to go to the city a lot, and you'd go to Times Square, but Times Square back then was not Times Square now. Times Square was gross. It was peep show holes, it was prostitutes, it was drugs. And there would be these guys who would set up shell games on cardboard boxes.
right.
And they would have a bunch of their friends surrounding the game, and their friends would win. Right. Yo, $100. Hand them the $100. Some tourist from Sweden sees this going on, says to her friend, he just won $100. The tourist wins the first low hand for $5. Do it again, put in more. This time they put in 50, they lose. That's Donald Trump. That is Donald Trump. He's the guy running the shell game. I've said this over and over. I wrote a book about the United States Football League which he ruined. That's just him. That's just him.
Do you think in part though, you have to play psychology 101 and say, like I said earlier, the concept of the border, spot on. Asylum was abused. He was right. But the execution of it, taking the emotion out of it about the things that you give him credit for, because how do you bring back those that are swing voters if you're not going to at least acknowledge the frustrations, in those things? Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting. I think the Biden administration clearly, without question, screwed up the border. And I actually think Democrats would be healthy to say, we screwed up the border.
However,
Sending masked unidentified agents into the streets across America and grabbing brown people without giving them a warning, a reason, without having identification, with having your mask cover, is the shit you see in the Philippines, is the shit you see in Russia. And like, the Democrats are so afraid of immigration as an issue that they can't even universally run ads, which is a softball of people grabbing people on the streets. The other day in suburban Chicago, tear gassing a neighborhood before their Halloween parade. Like, that should be
just brown people, there's white people being thrown to the ground also because they don't move their
correct.
car fast enough.
Correct. It is so easy. It is such a softball. And
Without
the
due
Democrats,
process, which is the biggest part of all of this, right?
correct.
Due
And I saw
process,
like,
you can just grab a white guy, and you don't think this applies to you. You think it's only black and brown and the Hispanic community. No due process means they can grab anyone.
correct. And the Democrats are so afraid of this issue. And like, I saw Schumer, who I just can't stand and needs to go away. He's doing the same thing Biden did, the same thing Ruth Bader Ginsburg did, over and over. Feinstein, same thing. He was asked about Mamdani the other day. And like, he runs away from the question. Just fucking say you have some differences with him, but he is a bright bolt of light for the Democratic Party. He's inspired a lot of people. New York seems behind him, so I'm going to get behind him too, and I'm going to give him a shot. There's your no charge, Chuck. That's all you have to do.
Not complicated.
They're so afraid of their own shadow. And also, I want to say something. I'm being serious. Out here in Orange County, California, I run a website called The Truth OC. It's a political website. I run it because I'm so down on the media. So I cover local Orange County politics for free on my time. What is so hard about people like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and half the Democrats out there, there are people all over this country busting their asses to fight this, busting our asses, right? Showing up at rallies, showing up at events, pissed off. And you have these leaders who are just soft as freaking, as Mob James said about Suge Knight, soft as raw pussy. That's a direct quote from Mob James and these guys are so soft.
Well, see, that's why I like Newsom, because he's trolling Trump. And for whatever you want to say about California, to me, that is the right strategy. Scott Galloway and how he approaches all this. He doesn't mince words. He gets straight to the point. He's emotionally in control. Bill Maher, for whatever you want to say about him, at least he calls out both sides. I mean, what do you think about those three guys?
I'm not a Bill Maher fan, not gonna lie. It's
Right.
okay. Bill Maher's okay. I don't know. Newsom, the funny thing about Newsom is I was like kind of down on Newsom for a while. I didn't love the podcast where he was platforming guys like Steve Bannon and even Charlie Kirk. Like I just thought it was so blatantly obvious that he's wooing this moderate view. But man, he's been throwing punches. He's been throwing punches. Him in the Pittsburgh, in Chicago, in Illinois are throwing punches. And it's like, we just want to be inspired, man. We know
Right.
you don't have that much power right now. Like we know, I get it. The Republicans are in control, but we just want to be inspired. And so many of these wimps, it's hard to be inspired by the Democratic Party right now when they have this golden opportunity, but they're just not doing it. And I hope they do it. And I do think people are going to turn out in huge numbers at the midterms. Hopefully they're not rigged, but I could see them being rigged by the right and just the Department of Justice. But Trump alone is an amazing draw for the Democrats. He is. Now throw some fucking punches. There you go.
A couple more single word
Okay.
answers. Phil
I'll do
Jackson.
single words now. I promise. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I love it. It's Phil Jackson.
I mean, I'll say this real quick. When I was working my Laker book,
Yeah.
that Kobe book, I flew out to Montana. He agreed to be interviewed. Jeannie Buss hooked it up. And I met him in a coffee shop and I thanked him profusely. I was like, man, thank you so much. He goes, it's not for you, it's for Jeannie. And I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be quick. We probably spent 10 hours together that day, including he drove me around a lake in Montana. We went to lunch. We went back to his house. He needed a nap, but he's like, you want to grab dinner later? Grab dinner later. I don't have that much bad to say about Phil Jackson. He was very gracious with his time with me.
Wow. That's amazing.
I basically won the 8,000, like some hedge fund douche would bid like 500,000, spend a day with Phil Jackson, and I just won that trip. Yeah.
Shaq.
Oh, love Shaq. Love Shaq. When I interviewed him for the book, it was in Atlanta, Turner Studio. He was drinking a soda, and it was a normal can of soda, and his hand is so enormous, it
Right.
looked like he was drinking a mini can of soda. Just always have that image. Yeah.
Well, and people don't realize he broke his wrist, and that's why he wasn't able to shoot free throws. Not to mention his hand is like holding a
I
Nerf
was gonna
ball.
say he might not have been great at it anyway. He had a hand the size of like a freaking beefsteak.
Right.
It was big. Yeah.
Like me holding a Nerf ball.
Right.
Kobe.
The thing about Kobe is that really resonates with me. And it's cliche but true. And I didn't realize until I moved out. I lived in California, and when he died, I was still relatively new out here. And the amount of pain and anguish over his death. I think what Kobe brought to people was this idea that you can work yourself to greatness. And like when no one's looking, I'm shooting 3,000 jumpers at night and nobody sees this. And I'm doing it because I want to have the moments that you do see. And that really resonates with me as an author. Honestly, like the interviews, doing more interviews, doing more interviews. It's like nobody sees that stuff. You just put out a book and people hate it or love it, but they don't see what you put into it. And I really admire Kobe for the work ethic.
And what he did for girls and women later in his life and reinvented himself in that way. At 4 a.m, also, by the way. New York Met fan.
Sucks. I mean, I love 86. My first book was the 86 Mets.
Right.
Sucks. But if you said New York Jets, I would tell you
Right.
the worst thing ever. I mean, ever. You have a Lions banner there. You used to know what it was like, but you've hit the good times that I've never had.
Right. City of Detroit.
I used to love Old Tiger Stadium, and I remember being at Old Tiger Stadium. It was great. And there was in the outfield, I don't remember exactly, but somehow you could talk to the players because there was like almost like a link fence kind of thing going on there.
Right.
Am I wrong on that?
There's an overhang in right field also.
Right. But I remember being in the outfield covering a Tiger game, but just walking around. We
There's
were
a
playing the
fence
eighth.
in the bleachers, in the center field bleachers.
Correct. And Ricky Henderson was out there just dialoguing with the fans. And I always thought that was really cool. I love the grittiness of Detroit. I do. A good friend of mine lives in Detroit, former baseball player named Brian Johnson. And yeah, I love the grittiness of Detroit. It reminds me of kind of the grittiness of, New York, which I love.
I mean, that's sort of where I fell in love with sports. I was in the bleachers one day with one of my 6 dads, and it starts with taste great, less filling. So half the bleachers is yelling taste great, the other one's yelling less filling, and then it for some reason turned into eat shit, fuck you, eat shit, fuck yeah. It's just like I thought that was the greatest thing in my life.
I also want to say I love Mark the Bird Fidrich and Ron LaFleur and Rusty Staub and on and on and on. The old Tigers, Chet Lemon and stuff like that. I love those guys.
Totally. Rest in peace. Chester Lemon. Yeah. Caitlin Clark.
I mean, profoundly important player in the history of the WNBA who took the league's interest from here to here. And yeah, man. I mean, look, I love Angel Reese. I do. I love Angel Reese. I love what she's doing. I think she's wise. I do think when Angel Reese says we about lifting the WNBA, I could see Caitlin Clark correctly thinking, it's not really we, Angel. You know, like you're a good player, you're a power forward, you have style, no doubt about it. You're very like you state yourself beautifully. Like Angel Reese, if that were my daughter, I'd be incredibly proud of this young woman. It's not really we. Caitlin Clark raised that league single-handedly to a new level.
And then Brett Favre. After you wrote the book, obviously a lot of things came out.
Just kind of a dumb douchebag of a man who like just a dunderhead of a man, but I loved his family. I wish I met his mom, Benita, who's, you know, super MAGA, but like I really loved her, still do. So like the family was cool, but he's kind of a douche.
All right, a couple more. Should Pete Rose have been in the Hall of Fame before he died?
Yes. Yes.
Shohei Ohtani, the best player to ever play the game?
Yes. I'll say yes. I always had Ricky Henderson, but I'm gonna put Otani above him.
9 times. I mean, you just can't. You could have watched a movie and not believed it that
Yep.
he would reach base all 9 times. Okay, and if you could have dinner with 3 people, past or present, dead or alive, that you've never met before,
Oh,
who'd you like to have dinner with?
I never met Tupac. Tupac, 100% Tupac. I would like to eat with, this is gonna be a lame answer, but it's true. I would like to meet, well, I'll go not lame. I'd love to meet my great grandmother who died in Auschwitz, who I never had the chance of meeting.
Oh,
Um, I would like to meet my grandma Molly's sister, Ann Goldstein, who died at age 11 when she was a child, and who I knew about but never knew because obviously it was my grandma's sister.
wow.
And then I'll throw in Malcolm X and who'd be the 5th person that I'd invite?
Yeah, besides Tupac.
By the way, I'll go Tupac, Malcolm X, my grandma who died in Auschwitz, my great aunt who I never met, and I would throw in former blind melon singer Shannon Hoon.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you have it. Jeff Pearlman, the author of Only God Can Judge Me, The Many Lives of Tupac Shakur. Anything else you want to share with the world? I can't thank you enough. I mean, it was a fascinating conversation. Truly, truly appreciate it.
Ah, man, just read the book, even if you take it out from the library. I don't care, but I think there is a real human being behind the mythology and behind the AI generated images who deserves to be understood, and I tried my best.
And culturally and the layers that maybe it'll lead to help you have a better understanding of not only the history of the black and brown community in music and hip hop, but where we are now, just in terms of all the other things that we talked about, politics, etc.
Correct.
Thanks,
Yep.
Jeff. I appreciate it. I'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you so much.
Much love and respect. Thank
Oh,
you.
man.
All
Same
right.
here.
Take care.
Ciao. All right.
Well, there you have it, folks. Jeff Pearlman. Just no matter what you think of the book, if you read it, or what your predisposed opinions are, genuinely love the book. I cried a couple different times. I had to put it down a couple times because it was uncomfortable. But you can't get to a different place unless you're willing to read, listen, talk to people, and learn about the history of this country, whether it's musically or politically or in any other way. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sports Deli podcast. We'll see you next time. Much love. And here are today's outtakes, everyone. We hope you enjoy it. Thanks again for listening and watching. JP.
I'm not late. I'm just late. Sorry.
You're good, brother. Oh, 100%, man.
Yeah.
Definitely excited. I know you're busy. And I'll do a brief intro, but as I've said before, I don't know why anyone from Jay Billis to, all the other guests, why they even come on. But we have thoughtful conversations. It's a safe space. And then anything, you want me to adjust later, I'm happy to do it.
I would not do that. I would not do that, actually. I feel like it's your show. It's your content. If I'm dumb enough to say something, it's all fair.
Thanks again for joining us today, everyone. Feel free to send me an email to thesportsdeli@gmail.com. Also, check out my link tree. It's /Mike Hootner. Also, like to thank a few people. 40 Tons Brand is a socially conscious cannabis brand, and they're doing amazing things. Check them out. We'd also like to thank Moolah Kicks, the first ever female brand basketball shoe in the history of the world. We'd also like to encourage you, if you're having a hard day and if you're feeling like you just don't want to live anymore, all you have to do is dial 988 from any phone, and there will be someone there 24/7, 365. So don't feel like you have to fight this battle alone. Don't forget to do your self-breast and self-testicular exams every month. It's really important, as early detection is the key. Remember, Black Lives Matter. Reach out to your local and state politicians for any individual or group that you feel are being marginalized. Stop the bullying. Stop the Asian hate. Let's end gun violence with common sense laws. Let's be allies for the LGBTQIA+ community. And I challenge those of you in the white space to be anti-racist, to be bridges and vessels, to help bridge the gaps between Black and white America. And remember, until next time, it takes a village, everyone. Much love. Peace.